So
No, racketeering was one he was acquitted of.
acquitted of. So he has lived a rock star life of debauchery, and there are videos of him abusing women. Just awful stuff.
He's a bad dude.
Very, very bad. Accused of sex trafficking, of underage, all kinds of stuff that he's been accused of. He's been found guilty of 2 lesser charges having to do with, I think,
Prostitution.
Transportation of prostitution.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a sordid
It has been.
thing to have to be in the news every day, but it's over now. But so he's a music rap
Producer.
mogul, right?
Yes.
That's right.
He made it. His heyday was the '90s and the 2000s,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
The '90s. He go back to the '90s.
I think he does. Yeah, I'd have to look up the. I was never really. I
Yes.
don't. That's not
But
my music. So
You know what?
look it up.
You know what this shows to me? I was watching and listening to some of this stuff, and this isn't the first time this kind of thing's happened in our country and been all over the news. But, and I'm not saying that Sean Diddy, what's his last name? Combs is not. Nobody is beyond God's grace to reach to save him and to change his life radically. Okay, and hopefully and prayerfully that's what'll happen to him. Him realizing what just happened in his life. I don't know how much time he'll have to serve for, if he'll even have to serve any time for what he did, what he's convicted of.
Right.
But spiritually and biblically speaking, this is what, when we as human beings have the world at our fingertips in terms of all the money, and in his case fame, and you can do anything you want to and nobody's going to tell you no, then you know what happens to a lot of people? They just go total debauchery.
Yep.
Total debauchery. It happens in a lot of cases, and not high profile like this guy necessarily, but people who are maybe not on the public radar. But I'm just saying that to say this, that only proves the Bible true.
Yeah.
Don't you think, Fred?
Absolutely.
On the nature of man, the sinful nature of man.
Absolutely. And we see story after story in Scripture that goes to this. And what happens so many times, and not always, but it seems that the inhibitions to doing these kinds of things go away the more wealthy the individual is. I mean, think of the Epstein case.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Wealthy and powerful and influential, and as I say, no, the fewer people tell them no to anything.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're left to their own.
Yes. That they can buy anything that they
anything.
want.
Right.
And
Including by their way with
by
the
people,
attorneys.
by people. Yeah.
yeah, and they take from it because there's not immediate retribution for that.
Right.
That must be okay.
Right.
You know, I'm going to be fine. I'm getting away with this.
Right.
There's the worldly saying is power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, which is the corollary to this. It's not power, but it's accountability. Without accountability, you will go to the end of your tether. Now, in the cases of Diddy and in the cases of the Epstein, they did get caught eventually. But how many people do we know out there that didn't get caught? We don't know because they didn't get caught, but there's evil going on all the time. I'm also thinking of some people, sometimes they think that because they are above the law, that they're doing such important work that they're above the law. I'm thinking all of the people that fly around in jets and are for the climate change thing, but they can do it. The other thing, example of that, unfortunately, was Ravi Zacharias, who was found after he died, all this corruption and the sexual immorality that was going on. I remember reading, he thought because he had worked so hard for the Lord that this was okay. I don't know how that corruption thought came into his mind, but he thought it was excused because he was working so hard for the Lord that he deserved these sins. It doesn't make sense, but that was his thinking.
All right. Well, what's your first story?
Well, we have talked a lot about the media and its the bias in the media. In fact, it's one of the things that keeps me employed here is talking about bias in media. And we're starting to see the Piper is starting to collect fees now. Today,
The Piper.
What's the saying? The Piper is.
I know what you're talking about.
Well,
I don't. What are you talking about?
I'll get the
Pied
analogy.
Piper? You talking about the Pied Piper?
Yeah, get the
Time to play the Pied Piper?
pay the Piper.
Pay the piper.
Say
Pay
that
the-
3 times fast.
Yeah. I don't know
Anyway.
if it's a Pied Piper, but
Okay.
here's the headline. Yesterday, Paramount Global and CBS agreed to pay President Donald Trump a sum of $16 million up front and further payments that could, according to Fox, reach north of $30 million to settle an election interference case. You may remember at the heat of the election when Kamala Harris was being interviewed by CBS, and they asked her a little bit something about Benjamin Netanyahu. And we're going to play this. This is you're going to hear what this was over. So she answered in a word salad that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Huh?
Yeah, I know. Kamala Harris.
Is this the Kamala Harris I know?
The same one you're thinking of? Yeah.
A word salad.
I know, but when it aired on originally, they played the word salad, but then they remixed it for the Sunday show and made it sound. They put a whole different answer to the question. It sounded like this. Cut 12.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
So that was, you heard the question twice. The first was the word salad answer. The second wasn't a whole lot more coherent, but at least it was it didn't have a whole lot of pauses and awkward
And
stuff.
they did more than, they did that throughout the interview. Is that correct?
That's the one that
that's
I
when-
don't know of the anything else, but that edit alone was enough. The president claimed that CBS was interfering with the election. Remember, it was in the middle of the campaign in 2024. He won that. He didn't win. They settled out of court, and CBS and Paramount are going to be paying him millions of dollars. And this is the third victory in short order for President Trump over media. ABC had to pay him $15 million in December of 2024. And that
What was that for?
That was, I got it here. Do you remember, Fred? Right at the
It
top?
was a George Stephanopoulos thing, something that George Stephanopoulos said about Trump, very derogatory. And so Trump sued him for defamation. It was a defamation suit.
Because it was a lie.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then he won $25 million for Meta for having his social media accounts blacked out during the.
That's after the
this is
January 6th.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so also on the horizon, he is suing the Pulitzer Board because the Pulitzer Committee awarded a bunch of Pulitzer Prizes to New York Times and Washington Post and all these people who were reporting flat-out lies about the Russia hoax. They got Pulitzers for them. So he is suing, and a judge just recently, within the last 2 weeks, has said that case can move forward. And then there are other cases the media is being held accountable for. Remember Nick Sandman? That kid in Washington, D.C., who was being confronted by the shaman that was beating the drum in his face, and the media accused him of being racist and everything. He sued because it turned out it was exactly the opposite of the story that they reported, and he was winning undisclosed amounts, but it's rumored to be settled in the
CNN,
millions from CNN. Several people that he won from.
So what's the moral of this story, Steve?
Moral of the story is that the piper is being paid.
And another way of saying that is paying the price.
Yeah,
Paying
the
the
media
price.
is starting to be held accountable. They thought that because there was a lawsuit back in the 60s called New York Times versus Sullivan, which set a really, really, really high bar for media outlets to be sued over
I'm kind of
definitely.
surprised that President Trump won the CBS 60 Minutes case. Here's the reason. For the First Amendment, free speech. I mean, CBS is a company. They can edit anything they want to after they do an interview with a celebrity or a politician. Now, it doesn't mean that the celebrity or politician doesn't have to do the. I'm giving you. Listen, I think what they did was election interference in the sense that I'm talking about CBS, in the sense that they saw what Kamala Harris did. They are liberal. She's liberal. They agree that Trump doesn't need to be president. So, we CBS 60 Minutes, we don't need to allow Kamala Harris to look bad if we can do anything about it. So let's do something about it. Let's clean up the interview for her. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And then President Trump's team said, no, you're interfering with an election. You're not being an honest broker in the media. And so,
Well, it was, to my knowledge, it wasn't presented as an edited version. It was understood as this was done in real life.
right, they didn't say this is edited.
Yeah,
right,
no.
yeah.
This is a live it was a pre-recorded live, or it was understood as a live.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was also a case of the timing of this. This interview was in October, just before the election. And so it was quite obvious that what CBS at 60 Minutes people did, they played the word salad in a promo for the show,
Yeah.
but then removed it when they actually did the 60 Minutes show on Sunday night. So that raises suspicions. But there's a sidebar story to this that the mainstream media is bringing out, that Paramount / CBS is in the midst of negotiations for taking over another media outlet, which needs FCC approval. So rather than fight this, Paramount CBS is let this go because they want the approval of this venture that they are attempting to do.
So they're buying off
Well,
well,
federal government.
there are a couple things to point out here. First of all, it was a settlement. They did not win the case.
Right,
They
right.
settled. And it wasn't a First Amendment case. This was an FEC, a Federal Election Commission case. So it's not. No one's challenging, or in this case, they didn't challenge the media's right to have freedom of the press as guaranteed in the First Amendment. That wasn't an issue.
All right, so President
Well,
Trump can claim I won.
He
Yeah.
can.
Yep.
I won the case. CBS was biased against me. They tried to help my opponent, and they paid the price. So
And out of all of this, you avoided us having to listen to the cackle, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
yeah,
You're welcome.
yeah.
You can
Because
pay
you
me
could have
later.
easily done that, and you chose not.
Where is Kamala Harris? What's her next step politically, Fred?
So she's done. Oh, sorry, Fred's turn.
No,
Go
she's
ahead.
done. Oh, your answer for Fred?
hey,
That's your
listen.
opinion.
It,
She's
by the
done like
time
a turkey at Thanksgiving.
by the time the Democrats try to figure out
What to do?
how they're going to move forward, because they
Yeah.
got all these wackos out there that are gaining
Yes, they
ground
do.
within the party. To them, Kamala Harris might look pretty good when we roll around to 2028.
That's sad.
Oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please.
Well,
Yes.
that's what a lot of Republicans are saying. You want to put her on the top of the ticket? Hey, Tim Walsh, the governor of Minnesota, he thinks he has a chance.
Bless
They're also
28
trying to do a rehabilitation on Pete Buttigieg.
And Joe Biden.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
pretty sure he's done.
Listen, these people, the ones you've mentioned, will never make it out of the minor leagues.
No,
They're not making it to the big
they're not
leagues.
making that an A ball.
I'm gonna tell you, no A-ball. They're
not.
stuck at A-ball. Kamala Harris, she got put
This
up
is
there.
gonna be fun. Everybody get their
She
popcorn.
got put up there in the major leagues for like a season
I have to see.
because she was a DEI hire,
That's right.
basically, and then she proved she couldn't hit. And now she's demoted back to single A ball if she's even going to be in the pros at all.
You know,
Listen,
you know who they're talking about now? AOC could be the next Democrat.
that's what I'm talking about. These
Let's
people.
go.
Go
I
right
support
ahead.
this. if
Be
I,
careful what you wish for.
No,
Okay.
if
I'm
you're
just saying that.
Republican, you're going, yeah, that's a great idea.
yeah, that's right.
It
I
is.
think you're onto something right there.
Any major party candidate has a shot at winning because there's only two parties, and the margin right now
All right.
is pretty thin.
Yeah, I
I'm
hear
gonna
you a little
I'm
bit,
gonna
but
tell
not
you
really.
there are two people that I can see out there right now to keep your eye on if you are watching politics nationally, who could emerge as leaders of the Democrat Party who aren't insane lefty wackos. Okay, at least that's not their perception.
That's a perception.
Yeah. So
They lie significantly better.
but I don't. But now I haven't seen these two people interviewed, but like once or twice, and I can't even recall the one of them's names. But I do know they're very telegenic, and they are. That is these two people: the governor of Pennsylvania,
Josh Shapiro.
Keep your eye on him, because he could emerge as the leader of the Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a caveat there I want to mention in just a minute. But also the governor of Maryland. What's his name?
I gotta look that up.
He's a African American gentleman.
Westmore.
Huh?
Is that right? Westmore?
He's the governor. Does it say he's the governor of Maryland? Yeah, him. Yeah, Wes Moore. That he's very well spoken. He's very telegenic, just like Shapiro. And you know, in the modern day, you've got to be good on TV. Let's just face it. You just do. You got to be good on your feet, quick on your feet. You got to be good on television, which has helped President Trump. His ability. I think President Trump's background in television with The Apprentice show helped him immensely. Not only did he already have national popularity and name recognition when he ran, but also he knows how to handle the media and television. So, but anyway, back to this. We were talking about all these wackadoodles in the Democrat Party. Those two fellows right there are not wackadoodles. They're smart people who could emerge. I don't agree with
They're like Obama. They can say they're
yes.
against gay marriage.
I don't
and
agree
get
with
in office and then switch.
I don't agree with their politics.
Right.
They are both on the left.
That's right.
But
They
I'm
just
just
lie
telling
better.
you, they could potentially appeal to enough voters to be elected. Go ahead.
I would add one more to your list.
All right.
The governor of Kentucky,
Okay.
Andy Beshear.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Now, also the governor of Michigan, she's still not out of the picture. Whitmer.
Gretchen Whitmer.
Yeah, she's kind of tainted a little bit. But I would say this though: there's a couple things here. There's a fight for these names that we've mentioned to emerge. They're going to have to overcome the rabid
Yes.
left wing. I don't know what you call mob out there
Mm-hmm.
that now is where the energy is and who controls the Democrat Party,
That's right.
because these people we've mentioned are going to be considered, quote, too conservative or too mainstream
Moderate
for the AOC squad
team.
crowd.
That's
And
right.
so the Bernie Sanders,
There's a fight going on.
Tim Walz,
Yeah.
for that matter.
The
he'll be considered too far left too.
Gavin Newsom's was in the ring until the fires and the
lost
mismanagement of
his
the
hat.
fires, and then the riots in L.A. Really have taken him out of the running. Shapiro is going to have the same problem. You know, they were considering him to pair as Kamala Harris's running mate.
Yeah.
He better be glad that didn't happen.
Well, yeah, but the reason that they didn't do it is because he's Jewish, and there's a virile anti-Semitic stream going in the Democrat Party.
That was a caveat I was going to mention,
Yeah.
because Shapiro is Jewish. Does that create problems inside the Democrat Party? Because they would say, these people, no, we don't hate Jews, we hate Israel. Well, guess what? That's where the Jews live.
That's right.
So let me ask you this, Tim. What happens if, as it looks like is happening, President Trump starts adding to the Abraham Accords and peace somehow legitimately or long-term, looks like long-term breaks out in the Middle East? Does Israel...
Peace breaks out. I like that.
Well, let's say
Peace breaks out.
happens. Let's
Peace
say
breaks.
because there's now a ceasefire announced for 60 days between Israel
Right,
and,
we haven't mentioned that yet.
and the Gaza and the. But if Israel is not in the front and center of a war, do the Democrats take that off? Do you stop protesting the Jews? Do we stop being Palestinian flags all over? And does that take that out as an issue in the Democrat Party, paving the way for someone like a Josh Shapiro to?
Well, listen, I don't care if the Democrats win another race in the history of the world, okay? But I'm just telling you that for unless they change their positions on
Right.
on things, which I don't think is going to happen at least anytime soon. But they are out of touch. The Democrat Party as it exists today, on a national level, with they're out of touch with Americans. The
majority of-
I would say a majority
Yeah.
of Americans. That's why they lost the Senate, they lost the White House. So unless they change that,
Yes, right.
then they're going to continue to lose elections. Now they're not going to lose in New York or California, but they're going to lose in purple and red states, obviously.
I tell you what, if this communist in New York City is elected mayor,
Yeah.
Mamdani, and he does what he's publicly said he plans to do,
Yeah.
that will end the hopes of the Democratic Party
Yeah.
in 28. If
Yeah.
they're willing to elect a guy like that,
Yeah.
and he follows through with what he's threatening to do,
Okay.
that'll set the alarm bells off across America.
Yep.
Yeah. It's anyway. We got 1 minute left. You got anything? You got any happy news, Steve? Any happy news?
No,
out there?
I have some humorous news. The left will believe anything. I want you to play. I'm going to play you the latest conspiracy theory in the left. This is cut 11.
Guys, they're throwing the deportees out of the planes and into the ocean. No, this is not a drill. No, this is not fear-mongering. They're shackling people, flying out into open ocean and throwing them out. Okay? The flight patterns, there's people tracking them on this app. The flights going out with the deportees, watching them go out to open ocean and circle back.
A lot of
A
witnesses.
family in Italy saw 5 shackled bodies wash up on the shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll believe anything as long as it makes Trump look
What
bad.
was that we just heard?
That's actual. What's the conspiracy theory that's going around on the left? People of the anti-Trump persuasion.
Oh,
are
they're
saying this,
that ICE is taking deportees, putting them on plane, and sending them out to the ocean.
throwing them off the plane. Yeah,
With
they'll believe anything as long as it makes
there's
Trump
no
look
witnesses
bad.
for that.
Oh well. Okay then.
Okay, then.
All right. Time for lunch. Thanks for listening to the program today, everybody. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and join us tomorrow for another edition of Today's Issues, and keep listening to AFR. Take care.